am the Nidalorian, and you're watching the Sons of UCF live. The Sons is the way.
Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trace Trolko. Welcome to the Sons of UCF Live. Time to right the ship against the Pirates. We have the in-depth preview, and of course, we are answering your questions. Let's welcome in the Sons of UCF, Adam and Mike. Mike, happy birthday week to you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. It's a little hectic around here right now, but thanks. I appreciate it.
You got a hell of a cough going on, though. I got to tell you. All this well-planned, and then we've gone to the dogs right off the top. Adam, how are you?
I'm well, Trace. I'm going to be positive tonight. I'm going to try some positivity. I know people have said that's fine. Mike will be back. People have said our shows have been negative lately, so we're turning a no leaf tonight, Trace. It's positive, Adam. I don't know about positive, Mike. It's smiling, Mike. I got that. Don't know about positive, Mike, but positivity. That's the key word of tonight. I
got to tell you, your pod earlier this week was a bit of a downer. I got to be honest with you. I mean, you had a lot of reason, of course. That Navy game, the debacle in Annapolis, gave you plenty of material. And, of course, the hits just kind of keep on coming this week for the Knights. News out Wednesday that linebacker Eric Gilliard enters the transfer portal. Of course, former running back Bentavious Thompson, not part of the mix this year. You'd like to think maybe it would have been good to have him, considering the injury to Isaiah Bowser. He has also entered the transfer portal. The hits just keep on coming, don't they?
Yeah, obviously Bentavious, I think we kind of knew that at some point it was trending in this direction. The Gilliard stuff obviously is surprising. He played his 4 games, and obviously per the rules, you can play 4 games and take a red shirt. And so obviously he's elected to take this year as a red shirt. He has the free COVID year, so he essentially has 2 years left of eligibility. So obviously, you know, I think if you look at the snaps closely, his snap numbers have dwindled to JJB and Tatum Bethune. So perhaps he wasn't pleased with his role on the team. Surprising that he went these 4 games. Obviously, losing somebody of his tenure, of his experience, is never a good thing. We've got a lot of young linebackers. Someone's gonna have to step up now. Certainly unfortunate. Wish Eric the best, but you know, as Belichick would say, we're on in Cincinnati.
We've been losing players left and right. Even before the season started, guys were getting hurt, and now during the season, we know all the injuries we're taking, and now we've got guys transferring out during the middle of the year. Not ideal. You hear rumors that this kid had this in mind, that he was going to play 4 games and leave. Why he would do something like that, I don't know. But, you know, like Adam said, we just got to move on. There's nothing we can do now except just focus on this next game, because I'm sick of talking about the last 2 games, that's for sure.
Well, then you're going to like an upcoming segment. But the transfer portal giveth and the transfer portal taketh away. On a positive, we begin Hall of Fame weekend Friday night with ceremonies at UCF. Quite the class. Blake Bortles, Josh Sitton, Jermaine Taylor, Natalie Land from softball, track and fields, Afia Charles. They're going to be recognized Friday night. They'll be at the game Saturday, recognized during the game. It's a heck of a class. I'm planning to be out there as long as work cooperates and see some of the greats in UCF history.
As George O'Leary famously told me, I'm in a number of Hall of Fames, and anytime you're in one Hall of Fame, it's obviously a big deal. So congrats to obviously everybody on this list here. You know, UCF's classes have been a little bit sporadic of late, so certainly great to see some names going in and being enshrined. Do they get a jacket, Trace? I've never been to one of these ceremonies. Is there a gold jacket? How's this work out?
No gold jacket. I can't remember if they get a plaque or some sort of award, but yeah, no gold jacket. Mike, I know you don't.
They'll get a banner around the stadium, yes? All the Hall of Fame guys, I believe, have banners hanging in the rafters around the stadium in the concourse.
Oh, and the concourse, yeah, and they've got different names recognized. I know you don't want to relive things. 34-30, Knights lose to Navy. I got to think, though, one of the positives in this, though, is that we saw a pretty good game from Mikey Keene.
Yeah, Mikey looked pretty good. He looked poised. You know, first play of his career, he threw a touchdown. He does have that long windup. I wonder if that's going to come back to haunt us with something you got to get. I don't think that's something you can correct now in the season. But, yeah, he looked good. He threw the ball away when he needed to, and he had us in a position to score a touchdown in that last drive. He marched us right down the field. We just couldn't finish it off.
Adam, Mike just said something there that it's something that he may be able to correct in season. They're 2-2, right? Your record is, you are what your record says you are. They're about to face a quarterback with 30-plus starts under his belt, a talented running back amongst the nation's leaders in rushing. When does the tackling and being able to address the edge begin to show that progress is being made on this season?
Yeah, it's going to have to be soon, Trace. Obviously, the last two games on the rush defense particularly have not been, I think, what anybody wants it to be, which is such a surprise because the first two games, UCF's rush defense, I think, gave up 20 yards total. That's not average. That's total. And I think Navy had 20 yards, after two carries. So it certainly has been a roller coaster of a defense. And I'm not sure what the schematics are. I'm not sure what T. Will needs to do to get it figured out. You're hearing the guys positively. Cam Good this week said, they're play here or play their way. I think he went as far as to say he wouldn't want to keep running on the defense. So I certainly hope that they know something we don't know. But to answer your question about Mikey Keene, he certainly was not the reason that UCF did not put a W on the board. And then what will get lost in the whole nonsense of the loss is that last drive, he put together 5 really good straight completions plus a 12-yard run by Johnny. He had his, I think we marched, let me look it up here, 58 yards in that final drive. He got us downfield. If we don't miss an extra point, maybe we're kicking for a tie field goal right there, right? But he marched us down the field when he had to. He looked poised. He certainly was not the reason we won the game. I think he put us in positions to win the game. Now, he didn't win the game outright, and maybe that's what people are expecting, seeing a Dylan Gabriel or Mackenzie Milton type performance where you put the team on your back and you get the win. He didn't do that, of course, but he didn't cost us the game. So I left as optimistic with Mikey Keene as I was when I went in.
And the defense, for all it was gashed, it was really special teams, though, that gave up points. UCF was positioned well going into the half, if not for the block punt for touchdown. So, maybe the defense is a little bit maligned. As a friend of mine said, UCF's just a couple of plays away from being 4-0. Of course, the flip of that is could have lost the Boise game and be 1-3 with the only win over Bethune-Cookman. You talked a little bit about it regarding Pick'em on your show earlier this week, but UCF 10, 11-point favorite. I mean, Vegas usually knows what they're talking about. It just seems like a lot of points for UCF to be favored in this one against ECU.
ECU looks like they have an explosive offense. The last 3 weeks, they've been putting up over 30 points. We've been giving up 30 points to every Division I team we've played going back to last year. So I don't see that trend ending. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we keep them under 30, keep them in the 20s. But if they're scoring 30, we're going to have to be in the 40s to cover that spread. With a freshman quarterback making his first start at home, that's a tall task to ask for.
Yeah, just before we went on, I watched Our Time on ESPN Plus, and it's what I'd said to you the last 2 shows, having run into Isaiah Bowser in the concourse. He was in the heavy knee brace, the times I saw him, and in the show as well. So you don't expect to see him. Certainly, Coach Malzahn did not sound optimistic about that. Hey, but a good thing on Saturday, UCF announcing today, free COVID shots. They're going to be offering free COVID shots 2 hours before the game. So if you haven't done that, that's of interest to you. That's
Aren't
a little free game.
Aren't they all free?
Well, yeah, but you don't expect that to be a part of the pregame festivities out your Memory Mall. You guys are going to be there, though. I think, Mike, you said you're going to be real close to game time, but fans looking to find you guys, you'll be in the cabana.
That's right. Yeah, I'll try to get there a little earlier. I don't know how it's going to work out. Maybe at earliest an hour early, but not going to have much time to play around. I'll head into the cabana and set up shop in there.
Mike's got no time to play, Trace. Plus, the weather apparently is going to be a thing again Saturday. I don't know what I'm rooting for here. Obviously, the weather delays have brought us 2 wins this season, but I don't personally want to get stuck in a weather delay, so not sure where I'm going there. But the weather could be an issue. Maybe Mike gets some more play around time, so bring your potato salad, my friends.
Yeah, 70+% chance of rain. Already 2 lightning delays for women's soccer tonight out at UCF. The Knights trail the Hated Cows 1-0 early in the first half. War on I-4 rivalry points up for grabs in this one. Earlier in the week, had opportunity to speak with Coach Malzahn, and he's looking to move forward after these back-to-back losses.
That's behind us. There's nothing we can do. We got to correct, and we got to move forward with this game. And we need to figure out a way to win this game. We're playing at home. We're very excited to be in front of our home crowd, and I think that'll do good for our whole team.
Home cooking, it is likely to help a bit, certainly.
Yeah, obviously, 2 straight road games and 2 tough losses. it'll be interesting to see how the team rebounds. If you watched our time, like you referenced, Trace, I thought Gus's post-game comments, which I don't know if we normally would have seen, were really telling. I don't want to quote him. I think this is pretty close. He said, "This is on the coaches. We lost this game for you guys. We need to get you better prepared." And he even said, "We need to get you a better plan," which I don't know if he's referring to game plan. I don't know if he's referring to just a plan around the stadium. I don't know. But I thought that was a really eye-opening commentary. And so I'm curious to find out, Gus said all the right things. He said, we've got to come back together. We've got to do the right things. This is on us. We're going to fix it. No better way to do that than at home. Right the ship at home, going a little mini run here. Obviously Cincinnati looming. This would be a fine time to get the Gus bus back in the right direction.
Even during the game, right after the punt was blocked, he said, "That's on the coaches. That's on us." I mean, come on. You got to be ready for that before. There's no excuse for that against a team like Navy. It's nice that he takes ownership of it, but let's not have that happen anymore.
Of course, though, we complained about Heupel not taking ownership of things. And I thought that was a key moment in the art time when he said it was right after the block punt. So it wasn't his thoughts post-game in the locker room with the players, but it was his in the moment real thoughts. So I appreciated that of him.
Yeah, it was refreshing, right? It was refreshing to hear the speech he gave. He sounded like he and the coaching staff were certainly going to go back and try to figure out what to do and call on the players to kind of keep trusting them, keep faith in them. No one looked like they had their heads down. I liked that a couple guys went over to Mikey Keene and kind of patted him on the shoulder and said, good job, kid. And you can definitely see that camaraderie, that morale coming around. And so, listen, this is no better opportunity than home cooking, right? We all always say nothing like a home cooked meal. Get back in front of the bounce house, get the offense back on track, put a W on the board, and let's get that arrow pointing in the right direction. As what was the famous Dolphins coach Cam Cameron? Let's get those thumbs pointing in this direction.
I asked a big question on Twitter this week. What are you more concerned about, the offense or the defense? Defense run away with this one, 92%. Of course, you also have to be concerned about the special teams, though I think that's a bit more of an outlier. We had seen overall quality special teams, not these sorts of mistakes in previous games. So just a total letdown, a total team loss. We had first opportunity earlier in the week to speak with Mikey Keene, and, he owned up to it. He talked about what he was seeing on that interception to end the game.
In a situation like that, I just want to be able to try and do what I can to give my team a chance to be able to at least come down with a touchdown or get some points on the board with that. So just trying to find an open guy. Thought I saw an opening. Obviously it wasn't there, but just in that situation, it's kind of do whatever you can to try and get the ball into the end zone. Don't take a sack. Just give your guy a chance, see what happens, see what comes from it.
Is this a moment for the two of you where you look at him and you go, boy, that guy's young?
Yeah, for sure. I think he's going to clean up around college. But B, listen, I was really impressed with his poise. Trace, I remember distinctly your first ever media scrum with Dylan Gabriel, and it was 4 words max. And to see him step up to the podium, take every question, answer it with confidence, answer it with some poise. I think this kid's just got the it factor, right? Just the moxie that you want to see. Again, to Mike's point, he didn't really get rattled too much on the field. I'm sure there are a couple plays that he would want to have back, a couple reads maybe he didn't make. But he definitely looks like he's got the real deal. I think I've heard someone say he's got the goods, dude. He actually may have the goods.
King Kong coming home for the first game. I do like the way this kid plays, man. He lets it all hang out there on the field, and he is a freshman. We're going to have to remember that at times during this season. He's going to make some mistakes. He didn't have that many the first week. Let's see how he does going forward.
I'll tell you what, though, we have counted on Dylan Gabriel in the offense to bail out the defense. And, Mike, you mentioned a score maybe in the 30s or more. Can you expect that from Mikey Keene and the offense, especially if you don't have Isaiah Bowser back to control the game?
That's going to be tough, man. Look, just think we scored 30 points this past week, but 2 of those were gift touchdowns that they handed us the ball inside the 20-yard line, and we scored on the first play. So, it's not like we went up and down the field on these guys on offense. I don't know if we can really expect to do that this week either, but we're going to need to keep their offense off the field, and the time of possession has got to improve. We cannot let them just run all over us like they did last week. So it's going to be a Johnny Richardson game, ball control game, and try to limit their possessions.
I promised our next guest, former UCF quarterback Nick Patty, that we would not spend too much time talking about Navy, that I really wanted to talk about Mikey Keene. So that's where I want to start out. Nick, hello. Welcome into the Sons of UCF Live. What did you like about Mikey Keene?
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me back. I liked a lot about Mikey Keene, man. I think we saw some really awesome stuff from him. You know, to your guys' point, I think the thing that shines the most to me is sort of his moxie and poise. You know, you'll always want to have a couple back. You'll always feel like you're, you know, maybe there's a missed read or two, but you never want to see the moment be too big for a young guy that comes in there. And I certainly don't think that moment was too big for him. You know, I think it was a tough first outing for him. You know, it's tough to have to bail your defense out like that. It's tough to have to show up, you know, drive in and drive out when you're just trying to get comfortable back there. But I think he did a good job. I think he showed he's not allowed to, or not afraid to, you know, let it rip. They set him up to be able to get comfortable back there. Showed a ton of promise physically. I think he can make every throw. I think that he can do a lot of good things as he moves forward when he gets really, really comfortable.
Nick, what role do some of the other quarterbacks play? Obviously, Quadri Jones has been there for a long time. Parker Navarro has been there for a year already. Joey Gatewood spent some time. What role do those guys play? How does that quarterback room in total help a young guy like Mikey in his first start like that?
Yeah, tremendously. I think it starts with Joey Gatewood, right? Because he is probably the most seasoned, if you will, quote unquote. And I just mean that because he's been in a couple different programs. He's played for Gus before. You know, he knows sort of what to expect, one, from Gus and his staff, but also sort of been around the block, seen it done a couple different ways. So he has a lot to give to him. Played in some, you know, tumultuous environments at Kentucky, and, you know, you go into some tough stadiums. So I think he's got a lot to give. And also he has a really different game. They have a much different style. So I think they can bounce off each other there. And then Quadri being at UCF for so long and knowing the opponents, knowing, you know, what a week looks like at UCF, getting ready for these certain opponents, I think that's a huge bonus, right? I think there in the film room, I think, you know, throughout the week preparing, hey, this is how I think there's so much information that is given to the quarterbacks on a weekly basis, and it's really too much to take it all in. And then you throw a young guy in there and there's just no way, right? And so I think what they could best serve Mikey by doing is saying, hey, here's top 5 things that we think you should break down, right? And let's help you do it. And, you know, here's to be comfortable against this defense, here's the most important 5 things, instead of, you know, every single down and distance, knowing the blitz package or knowing the personnel, whatever it is. So I think they can help slow things down for him in that respect. And, you know, I think they've got so much experience in there. It's again, another advantage for Mikey to be able to lean on.
I like the way Mikey played. I liked a lot of the decisions he made. But the thing that jumped out to me, and I know Adam noticed it, my other buddy noticed it, his delivery. He looks like he drops his arm all the way down and around. Do you see that being a problem? Is that something – I don't think it's something we can adjust during the season, is it?
I think it's something that's tough to adjust ever. You know, it's sort of like the golf swing, Jim Furyk, right? It's like try switching his golf swing. You know, it's very effective the way he does it. You can tweak it. I think if there was a problem with his accuracy, if there was a problem with his arm strength, I think then that's when you look at tweaking something like that. If the coaches don't feel there is, then I really think you're playing with fire there, because it might be a little long. It might be, you know, a loopy delivery, but I'm a firm believer that you kind of throw how you throw. And there's certain guys in the past that have done that, especially, I mean, he's not the biggest guy in stature, right? So he creates his power from where he can within his body, right? Uses his legs, uses a big delivery. So, you know, I think you're playing with fire there if you ever try to change it. But also, I don't think it's as big of a deal as, you know, most people make it, you know, unless you're lacking somewhere.
Earlier, you mentioned Joey Gatewood. How do you think Gus Malzahn is using him? Do you like the way he's using him?
Yeah, I go way back and forth with this, and I know I mentioned it last time that I was on. I think the two quarterback system is so dangerous, and we see it throughout college football, and there's very few true two quarterback systems that really flourish as an offense. And I think, no one knows Joey's talents better than Gus. He's seen it at two different schools now, two different conferences. And there's plenty of tape to be able for Gus and those guys to know how to utilize him best. I like how they're using him. I'd love to see him, use them a little bit more in situational downs, whether that be, like I talked about, 3rd and short or goal line. I'd like to see them mix up his package a little bit with what they can do. But I don't hate them, the way that they're doing it right now, because I think if you mix them in anymore, if you change it up too much, then you're teeter-tottering with the two quarterback thing. And especially, like I said, when in Mikey's situation being so young, I think that's even more dangerous. And so, unless we get ourselves in a situation where, we need to mix it up on offense and truly create, some movement, I like the way they're doing it right now.
Last week, Mikey obviously made his first start on the road, now coming home to play in front of a crowded bounce house. Are there more challenges, you think, for a young kid making his first start at home versus his first start on the road?
I think so. I'd be a believer in that. I think there's more distractions, believe it or not, being at home, right? So you're in your comfort zone. You're in your stadium that you play in, that you scrimmaged in. You do see some familiar faces, believe it or not. You know who's coming to the game. There's probably more people there. There's so many more opportunities for you to be distracted. And I think too, especially, for a young guy, there's more opportunities for you to feel like you can settle in, to feel like you can be comfortable and maybe a little bit lax, to where, I think it's advantageous, right? Because it's not like our fans are going to be extremely loud on the offensive side of the ball. And there's some excitement in playing at home and in front of your own fans. But I do think it presents some challenges that you'd be surprised as a player that aren't there on the road.
The second half of the game last week, we got shut down to only 7 points by Navy. What did they start doing differently, and what do we have to do this week to change things up?
Yeah, that's a frustrating. I think that's probably the most frustrating portion of that game, other than on the other side of the ball. But I think 3rd down is our biggest place that we have to get better at. I think it was 2 for 9. Correct me if I'm wrong, if that stat's off, but that's just not going to cut it, right? And I think if you parlay half of those into first downs in the second half, that leads to some points, right? And I just think, I don't know if it was Navy's adjustment as much as it was us kind of getting in our comfort zone, and I don't think we mixed it up as much in the pass game. In the second half, I think it was almost like we were playing on roller skates and playing defensively on the offensive side of the ball. I know you guys mentioned it right before I came on, of the time of possession battle, and I think sometimes what I've seen so far this year is when we don't have a lot of confidence in our defense, we try to maybe run the ball a little bit more, maybe not get so creative, maybe not push the envelope on offense. And that's really when our offense starts to stall. And I just think if we can try to let it loose as much as possible, especially in the pass game, I thought they set him up really well in the first half to rip it. And they were creative. They used the entire field, which they haven't done so far this year. And so I just think we just need to, stay creative, stay loose on the offensive side. And it was certainly got to start helping them. The defense needs to start helping Mikey specifically as we go.
Shifting to defense Monday, I asked Coach Malzahn, what was working so well in the first 2 games against the run that hasn't been working in the last 2? And his answer, you judge by yourself if you like it or not. He said, well, Louisville had a talented quarterback that could run the ball, and Navy had an unusual style. I see 4 games with not a lot of tackling, not a lot of ability to get guys on the edge. I guess we're going to see they have both a experienced quarterback, ECU, and a talented top 10 running back in the country. So going to be a real test for the Knights, where they've struggled, especially the last 2 games.
Yeah, it certainly will. And East Carolina, they have really turned it on offense, in the last really 3 games. They're putting up some points, and I don't think that it's because of any opponent difference or anything like that. I think people just hit their stride, and they certainly are. And, if there's one thing on the defensive side of the ball that I've seen a difference in this year than in years previous, it's really just the activity, if you will. And I know that's not a scheme. I know that's not a front or a blitz package or whatever like that, but it just seems like we're playing on our heels. Everything we're doing is stale. And against a team like Navy, against a team like Louisville, I can understand where you get into that mindset because, yeah, there's a mobile quarterback at Louisville, and Navy's got an odd scheme to where, you can't really be aggressive. But I just think really good defenses, no matter what the scheme, who the player, staying aggressive, staying active, and guys flying around is really the difference maker. And I just haven't seen that. And I feel like guys are playing on their heels. I feel like there's just no activity, no emotion. We don't have any kind of identity on the defensive side of the ball. There's really nobody that has stepped up, in my opinion, that has inserted themselves as really the leader of our defense, or a guy on third down that's going to make a stop for us that we can count on. And, I just think we lack identity on the defensive side of the ball. I think we lack aggression, and, that's going to come to hurt us a little bit. And yeah, those are really 2 tricky offenses. And I understand that, and that's tough, but it doesn't help that our defense really hasn't created an identity at all.
Nick, on the ESPN Plus Our Time series that just released today, they had the post-game speech by Gus Malzahn, and he got in front of the team, and the first thing he said was, this loss is on the coaches. This is on us. We didn't put you in the right spots. We didn't do a good game plan. A, have you ever had a coach sort of step up and take ownership right away? And B, as a player, how is that perceived? What do you think the players are thinking when they hear Coach Malzahn get up and say, this one's on us?
Yeah, it's tough to say, not being in the locker room every day, right? So there's certainly I can put it like this. I have heard that before, and it's a heck of a lot more comforting than the coach standing up there and pointing out a bunch of, individuals that it's on them, right? It's a heck of a lot more encouraging to hear that it's on them than it's on you guys, right? And so I think 2 things as a player. One, that shows that they're willing to, share the onus a little bit. And I always appreciated that a little bit because, I've been on the other side of that coaching staff that really feels like they didn't do anything wrong. And there's always something, especially look at the second half, the way that happens. And that's not just all by, play. That's certainly, there is proof in the pudding that something either wasn't adjusted or was adjusted and it was the wrong decision. And so, it's a mixed bag on exactly how that locker room is going to respond. But I can appreciate, as a former player, him taking that stance on it because there was glaring adjustments that should have been made that weren't.
Nick, you were around in 2015 when that season kind of spiraled out of control. We've had 2 really tough losses now. We've got guys transferring out of the program. What has to happen now for this team to get things back on track?
Yeah, I think it's certainly a focus thing, right? I mean, you look at the season and it's all right in front of us. And I think somebody said it best, our fans have to be more realistic about what a successful season looks like for us. And it's certainly not undefeated. Everything is right in front of us. Past ECU this week, there's Cincinnati, there's Memphis, then you've got an SMU team that's undefeated. So there's plenty to play for here as the season goes, and there's a 10-win season in front of us, right? And so I think it's a focus. I think it's a commitment from the leadership down. I think this is where, the most of the seniors and upperclassmen on this roster aren't recruits from Gus, right? So they don't have that much tenure together. And I think that hurts in a situation like this where you've got, a couple tough losses and seemingly some goals are slipping out of your hands for what you wanted the season to look like. But I think that's when those guys are the most important. And it'll be interesting to see if the coaches and the upperclassmen that don't have that much tenure together can gel. I think that'll be the most important thing for those guys to bring focus, those guys to stay focused and not start either looking at what's next to them or writing this season off, right? And so I think it'll be a multitude of somebody stepping up on the defensive side of the ball and cementing themselves as the leader, and us finding a little identity, and the leadership of this team stepping up in a big way.
Nick, Patty, you came focused, as Robert said earlier, the fourth son now. You're a regular around these parts. We thank you for hopping on. Hopefully when we talk to you again, we're going to be talking about a win. This losing stuff's got to stop.
No doubt. No fun talking about losing, that's for sure. But I appreciate being on. Always love it.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it. We'll see you again. Nick, Patty, bringing us the truth. All right. Do you guys feel any better? I didn't feel good, by the way, when he said, and Cincinnati, and Memphis, and SMU. And I thought, let's just get past ECU.
Well, look, I like that, from a quarterback's perspective, he saw a lot of good things he liked about Mikey Keene. I think that that's encouraging. I mean, quarterbacks know quarterbacks. I thought his comment about his throwing motion was I don't want to say reassuring, but it makes a lot of sense, right? You throw how you throw, and if Mikey's been that way, and that's the way that he generates power and is able to throw the ball, so you feel good about some of those things. And I also think he had some good points about the way the other quarterbacks can help Mikey sort of get adjusted, because there are some veteran guys running around that quarterback room.
I love Nick, but we're all a little superstitious around here. Losing didn't start until he started coming on this show. If we lose this one, I don't know. We're gonna have to think twice about having him back on for the fifth time.
we're gonna blame Nick for special teams errors.
He didn't set the edge. It's fair. He didn't set the edge.
Yeah, that's all on Nick. A couple of notes to share. High noon kickoff, UCF at Cincinnati. I don't know what to make of that, but you remember George O'Leary always wanted to start those games early. So Knights at Cincinnati, high noon, ABC. For the network. Pre-game concert series prior to the October 22nd game, a return of Lauren Elena. She'll be out at the Bounce House performing. And Mike, my favorite thing to share with you, bowl projections. These are not getting better. They're getting downgraded. We've gone from Fiesta to Fenway to Boca. Action Network's got UCF Western Kentucky and Boca. ESPN, a little bit better. UCF Miami and Gasparilla back in Tampa, or against Virginia in the Military Bowl. Getting to be bowl eligible with the challenges of the last two games seems to be the bigger issue going forward.
Yeah, they're running out of bowls to put us in, and if we keep up the play that we've had the last couple of weeks, there will be no bowling.
No bowl game.
Whoa. I mean, at least, if you can't get the bowl you want, get a spicy matchup, right? I mean, Miami, UCF in Tampa. I mean, that'd be spicy. I mean, that's our hometown team there, right? So
Yeah.
Miami is another team that probably is not going to be in a bowl game.
The state of college football in the state of Florida has been challenging, right? Miami's woes, which I'm fine with. Florida State's been struggling. Gators lose at Kentucky. And, of course, what's going on over in Tampa. It's not the premier state for college football at the moment.
Yeah, it's been a rough year, obviously, for the entire state. I mean, there's so much parity in college football outside of the top two, right? I mean, Alabama, Georgia, and that's everybody else. Clemson's having a bad year. We don't think Notre Dame's very good. They obviously lost in Cincinnati. Oregon was supposed to be good. They took an L this weekend. I mean, there's a lot of parity. I think I was listening to another podcast, and they essentially were saying this could be the next version of that crazy 2007 season when you had the likes of Kansas and even the Cows were in there for a while. This could be one of those years. It's going to be Georgia, Alabama, and whoever else can survive.
You were listening to another podcast? Excuse me?
Yeah, yes. I got to do some research someplace. Well, I mean, I got to have some normalcy in my life, Mike.
One of the 17 UCF-related podcasts, or completely different?
Completely different. Yeah, Yahoo Sports. It's good. You should check it out.
The 2007 season was crazy. You can see somebody like Cincinnati getting up to number 2, like the Cows, and then losing 3 in a row. And maybe we're the start of that losing streak next week, hopefully.
Where do you guys stand on Cincinnati? Are you hoping that they do what UCF couldn't before them, or do you root against? I mean, obviously you want UCF to beat them a week from now, or a week from now. But overall, you want to see them break through and make the playoff, or no?
I don't. I'm a bitter, cranky old man, so I have no desire to see that. I know people think it's good for the group of five. Obviously, we're leaving the group of five anyway, so that's fine. I don't, I think it's a year by year thing. I'm not even convinced Cincinnati would get in there, even if they run the table somehow. I feel like they would move the goalpost again. So I certainly wanted them to go undefeated, so we can go in there and have a chance to beat them. That was before we lost 2 in a row. I'm going to keep the hope up on that one, but I'm not of the mind to say like I'm going to throw all my eggs in the Cincinnati basket at that point. I have a hard time rooting for our enemies, our rivals. I just can't do it.
Yeah, if they were to go undefeated, I hope they leave them at number 5 and get left out, and then there's really more outrage. But I don't want them to make the playoff. I don't like them, so no, I'm not rooting for them. But we found out that the playoff committee said that if they were to get in the playoff, that means there's no other spot for another team in the New Year's Six game. So Coastal Carolina, you're undefeated. Too bad. You're not going to the Peach Bowl or the Fiesta Bowl or any of those good ones.
Yeah, we'll see. Cincinnati has won at Indiana. They have won at Notre Dame. They're cruising along so far. I would say I can't really root for them because remember they're joining the Big 12 with UCF. Do you want them to have recruiting advantages and all that comes with getting into this playoff? I still find it hard to believe that they're going to let them in.
Yeah, I mean, I think if there's a one-loss, SEC team, but if Georgia and Alabama have to play, obviously they're going to go in. But if there's the third team there, I think there's no way that's going to work out. Obviously, Michigan is having a good year in the Big Ten. So is Penn State. I think if Oklahoma seems to always get in the playoff with 2 losses somehow anyway, so I have a feeling they'll be on the outside looking in again. And again, I'm just fine with that. Now, if that was UCF, I'd be gathering the pitchforks. But if it's Cincinnati, no pitchforks needed.
Yeah, I don't care. Screw them. But hopefully we beat them. It's going to be them and SMU. SMU, remember, can still be undefeated too by the time they play each other later in the year.
I got to tell you, Mike, you've been in a mood. It's your birthday week. I know your Yankees didn't do well.
Oh, geez, Trace, come on! Wow, kick a man while he's down for crying out loud.
Yeah, I don't know why I like sports. I told you guys this the other day. Sports just causes a lot of anger. There's some good moments, there's some good years, but most of the time it's not good.
A couple of things of note on ECU. They're averaging 32.2 points per game, giving up 29.6 points per game. So, there's a potential there for a high scoring affair.
Yeah, something unlocked in their offense. I know we're waiting on a potential guest to maybe give us more insight, but something unlocked in their offense these last 3 weeks. I mean, they scored 19 and 17 in the first 2 weeks. Then they put up 42, 31, and 52 in the last 3 weeks. So something has unlocked in their offense. Holton Ahlers is a kid who's been around for a while. UCF fans should be used to hearing and seeing his name. They have a fantastic running back and Keaton Mitchell, who's averaging 9 yards a carry. That's not a typo. 9 yards a carry. And this is one of those, like, he had 10 carries this year. I mean, he's got 60-something carries. He's got 9 yards a carry. So they will be explosive on offense. Obviously, defensively, they've given up 19, 17, 38, 28, 29. So there certainly has some vulnerability there. They have a cornerback who seems to be a ball hawk for INT. So there may be some chances had out there. If he gambles, maybe Mikey can make him pay. But make no mistake about it, ECU is going to be able to put up points on the board, particularly with the way our defense has played the last couple of weeks.
Well, we wait to see if we can get our guest in from ECU.
And he just appeared, Trace. If you want to go to that now.
Well, let's do that. Like. Let us welcome in our guest, former ECU player, Matt Semenza. He's a regular member of the team on the Sports Objective podcast. Matt, thanks for stopping by the Sons of UCF Live.
Hey guys, how are you tonight? Thanks for having me. Nice to be with you. I apologize. I was having some technical difficulties there for a minute.
No worries. We're glad you're here. You're here, and we've been talking about ECU comes into this game against UCF with some momentum.
Sure do. This is right now we're on a 3-game win streak. I think the team is feeling very positive. This is our first 3-game win streak in many years, which is very hard for me to admit. And right now the focus is, going down to Orlando, playing a great game on Saturday, and hopefully walking out with a 4-game win streak. I do anticipate a tight ball game on Saturday. I think it's going to be very competitive, and it could be one of those games where it comes down to, just a few plays here and there.
Let's talk about the quarterback for a second, Holton Ahlers. We've seen him obviously play at UCF for the last couple of seasons. Where has he improved or developed here in this 2021 season?
So, Holton, he's one of these guys that he's very streaky, right? So when he's on, he can really carve up a defense. He can catch fire, and he can, throw for a very high completion percentage and several touchdowns in one game. Unfortunately, he also still has the games where he can be off a little bit and miss on some throws as well. So I think right now the focus for Holton and really the entire offense is consistency. That's really been the biggest area of struggle. And the thing about Holton Ahlers is he's a very good athlete. He's a big kid at 230 pounds. And really, he needs to focus on being a playmaker. And when the opportunities present themselves to run, he could step up and run the ball. So I think the main thing with him is consistency. We saw last week when he's on, he can be a very effective quarterback, and he really did a nice job against Tulane.
The kid that scares me is this Keaton Mitchell kid. He's a freshman, and he's just been breaking long run after long run. He's kind of scaring me into the Chris Johnson game that we had in 2007 that I still have nightmares about. Tell us a little bit about this kid.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's actually I don't want to speak too soon, but based on what he's doing right now, he is reminding us a little bit of CJ2K. So Keaton Mitchell, this is his second year in the program, and he's a legit 4.3 40 guy. And when he gets the ball in the open field, he can take it to the house. And right now, we're seeing him really start to settle into this offense. Last week, he actually averaged 14.7 yards per carry against Tulane. So he's a game breaker. He's a home run hitter. And he's the type of player that if you just give him a little bit of space, he can take it to the house. And I know, Lord knows, UCF has had their fair share of players over the last 5 years or so that can do damage as well in the open field. So, if I was on UCF's defense, I'd be thinking to myself, we've got to limit the explosion plays this week from Keaton Mitchell.
ECU averaging 32 points a game, giving up nearly 30. Of course, UCF starting a true freshman for back-to-back games and his first home game. What do you expect from the Pirates defense against the Knights?
I wish I had a crystal ball. It's one of those things. Again, the word that comes to mind for our team right now is consistency. And we can have quarters where we look fantastic, and then we can play some quarters where we're just giving up yards in bunches and we look sloppy. So, when I look at our defense, really what we're an aggressive, attacking, blitzing defense. We're not going to sit back and zone people up and just be carved apart. We would rather take our chances blitzing and attacking. And our defensive coordinator, Blake Harrell, that's sort of his MO, where he's got an attacking style. So it can be very effective. It can also be feast or famine, because when you blitz that much and you leave your corners on an island one-on-one with speedy wide receivers, it can lead to big plays as well. But again, I think, when you look at this defense, it's very, very young. Okay. And I think the strength of our defense is at corner. Jaquan McMillan right now, who's actually, believe it or not, the highest graded corner per Pro Football Focus in the country. And he's a ball hawk, and he's really playing at the top of his game. So we're a young defense, a little inconsistent at times, but I think what you'll see as the year goes on and players get more experience is that this defense will get better and better.
Speaking of young guys, I distinctly remember 2019 UCF playing ECU. I think the game was on CBS Sports Network, and Ross Tucker was doing the play-by-play or the commentary, and it felt like a 4-hour infomercial for CJ Johnson, who at that point obviously was a stud freshman receiver. His numbers were down in 2020, and everyone's were, right? It was a COVID sort of year. What have you seen in CJ's development, and what do you expect from him in this game on Saturday?
I'll tell you, it's a great question, and it's kind of been a bit of an enigma, right? Because when you look at CJ, his freshman year, I mean, he went off. He had some monster games. I believe his true freshman season against Cincinnati, he had 250 yards receiving. So, you fast forward to last year, I think, he's a pretty big guy naturally. He's almost built more like a tight end. And I think he got a little bit heavy last year. I think he gained a little too much weight and bulked up a little bit, and it cut down on his ability to separate from corners and make those game-breaking type plays. and then he had a tremendous offseason where he slimmed down. He's back at a more manageable weight. And he's starting to find his rhythm a little bit. If you look at the last few weeks, he's starting to sort of find his way in this offense. But it's been a bit of a challenge because defenses try to take him away. They understand that he's sort of our big play threat in the passing game, so they rotate coverage in his direction. So we're trying to continue to find ways to get him the ball. But I think he's definitely back in a position where he's ready to make some big plays for this team. He's a guy that teams need to look out for.
The Knights are coming off 2 very tough losses. Meanwhile, the Pirates winning 3 in a row. You guys must be licking your chops. We got a true freshman making his first start ever at home. We've won 5 in a row in the series. But are you confident? Is this the year you guys break the streak against us?
Well, guys, I have a lot of respect for this UCF team. And then, this is a team that's had a tremendous stretch here over the last several years. It seems like regardless of who the coach is a winning culture that's been built, and it just sort of carries on. Right now, when I look at UCF, there are some more vulnerabilities than there have been in previous years, right? You have a true freshman quarterback who very, very impressive in my opinion, but he is a true freshman and he's making his second career start. So there are things he's still going to be learning at the collegiate level every week. I wouldn't say we're licking our chops. What I would say is we have a lot of respect for UCF as a program. Even though you've had injuries, you still have a ton of talent on that program. You have speed and you have playmakers. But I do think this is a more winnable game for us than it has been in the last few years. So we shall see. I think that, defensively, when you have a true freshman quarterback making his second start, what you really want to do is make him uncomfortable, show him a lot of different looks on defense, move around, disguise. I would be very aggressive blitzing and just try to get him out of a rhythm as a young quarterback. But I watched the Navy game last week. I was very impressed with his poise, considering that was his first start. I thought his first half was excellent. So I think you guys have a great quarterback in the future there.
Let's wrap up with this. After the Scotty Montgomery experience, how do you feel about Mike Houston? How is Pirate Nation? Are they behind him and they like the direction the program is trending with him?
Did we have to go there? Did we have to? Just kidding, guys. So that was obviously a rough experience, right? And I feel very strongly about the direction Mike Houston is taking this program. I don't know if you guys were aware of this, but when Mike Houston took over, this is his 3rd season now, he walked into a program that had 68 scholarship players. 68. That's how bad of a position this program was in when Scotty Montgomery left. So Coach Houston had to come in. He had to revamp the entire roster. We didn't have really any depth. We didn't have much experience. I mean, this was a major overhaul. A lot of people around the country aren't aware of how much of an overhaul this really was. So I think this is the first year, he's in year 3. He's starting to feel he's getting to a point where this team is able to execute the way he wants them to execute. And he's starting to get his players that he's recruited some experience. So I think if you were to ask most people affiliated with this program, the future we feel is bright. We're definitely trending in the right direction. And we like this staff. Now, do I feel like we've turned the corner? I'm not necessarily ready to say that yet. I'll tell you one thing. If we play a great ball game on Saturday at UCF, a great team, I will feel very optimistic about the direction we're heading and the rest of the season.
We appreciate the information you brought to us on the ECU Pirates. Matt Semenza, regular member of the Sports Objective podcast. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on the Sons of UCF Live.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me. Wish I could be with you in Orlando on Saturday, but not happening. So good luck to UCF the rest of the way.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Knights have their work cut out for them. They've got Holt Nailers at quarterback. We talked about Keaton Mitchell at running back. It's going to challenge the Knights defense. And of course, we're going to see week 2 of Mikey Keene. It's going to be a battle at the bounce house on Saturday.
Yeah, the most interesting thing about that conversation is the fact that I'm pretty sure his clock was broken behind him because it's at 8:30 the entire time, which really unnerved me because it's not 8:30. So check that out on the replay. His clock was definitely broken.
It's right twice a day.
I guess it might be.
It's right
Look,
twice
East
a
Carolina is a fun rivalry, man. This goes back a little while. We played them, I think, more times than almost anybody else. We're still trailing in the series 10-9, so we have a chance to even it up this week. But this is a fun one. I think this is going to be a good game on Saturday.
Let's go around the kingdom. Men's basketball practice is underway. Knights about 6 weeks away from the home opener. And had an opportunity to talk with Johnny Dawkins and players the other day. And I asked Coach Dawkins, how you preparing for the move to the Big 12? What's that going to be like?
Over the last 5 years, I think it's been rated 3 or 4 out of the 5 years. It's the number one, basketball conference in the country. So that says a lot about where we're headed. But we're excited for that. I mean, I we'll be up to the challenge. I know our players will. I think our community, our fans will be up to that challenge. And we have to continue to recruit at a level that will allow us to be able to compete against those caliber teams.
Going to have to recruit at a much higher level. AAC Media Days next week. The season is getting closer. Women's soccer 1-1 with the Cows out at UCF. This is almost a must-win for the Knights. Caroline Delisle, the AAC goalkeeper of the week. But, more on I-4 rivalry points are up for grabs. Knights 5-4-1, 0-2-1 in the AAC. Volleyball back home. They dispatched Wichita State and Tulsa on the road last week. They're up to 17th in the RPI, so they're taking care of all their AAC foes. They've got Houston Friday, on Tulane on Sunday. Men's soccer, a strange one, dropped a 3-0 home match against Memphis Sunday. They host Tulsa on this Sunday. Let's open the mailbag. Got some questions from some new folks this week. At A. O'Connor 2014, is Mikey Keene really 5'11", 180 pounds? I think they may have fudged a little in the media guide.
Maybe. I mean, it's hard to tell the weight on camera. He's got shoulder pads on. 5'11" feels a little generous.
I've never seen him in person, so I couldn't tell you, but I am 5'11", 180 pounds, so maybe I need to stand next to him, and I'll let you know better next time.
Well, I'm about 5'10", so I'm either looking up at him or looking down. At Nightmare Shay, does Mikey Keene's mama know he's been sneaking out and playing that college football after school? He does look young, doesn't he?
As long as he gets his room cleaned and he does the dishes, I'm sure she's fine with it.
At Mary Ashbaugh 6, with the fans being rude, mean, and jumping on the whole negative Nancy stuff on Twitter, do you think this affects recruitment? UCF is like every other fan base. There's some cranks on social media. Kids are going to face that no matter where they go, right?
Yeah, I think there's like less than 1% chance, right? Because every fan base loses their mind over something. So I think there's less than 1% chance. The only thing I don't love is when we attack coaches and say coaches are idiots and yada, yada, yada. That's the only thing I don't really love. Because that obviously could have a negative light. But I don't think anyone's like, whoa, I was going to go to UCF, but Jim Rod 6252725 says it's not very good there, so I better not go. I don't think that's possible.
You know who was salty on the Twitter machine? UCF Mike. UCF Mike a little salty on the Twitter machine this past weekend.
And on the podcast, so hopefully the recruits are not tuning into that because I let them have it this week.
Our buddy at JP Gilbert. Tough question, fair question, given the injuries and lack of development of some of our defensive starters. Is this a rebuilding year? He wants a yes or no.
I mean, at this point, yes, but the word development's interesting because is it development or is it execution? Are these guys just not getting any better, or are we not putting them in positions and schemes that allow them to be good? That's the only thing I quabble with here. I think JQ is probably right at this point, right? We are rebuilding, we are kind of reloading, but I'm not sure if it's development as much as it is execution.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with the injuries, too. I mean, we lost our starting quarterback. Nobody saw that coming. So, yeah, we're building for the future now with Mikey Keene and see how he does.
At blackgold_Ed, he's fed up with the Gatewood play. Reminds him of the Wimbush plays, 100% predictable. Should they be banned from the playbook?
Well, we saw if you're on the Dungeon UCF Sports, we saw Gus Malzahn's play clipboard. Wasn't a lot on there, so I mean he's got some space if he wants to add something else in there. Look, I think the Gatewood stuff can work. He had a great touchdown run against Navy. You know, I think I looked at him again on TV today. He has a right arm. Not sure if he can use it or not, but if there's a way to put a package that he can actually throw the ball and be effective, there's an option there. But I think we've got to decide how we're using these quarterbacks. You know, we saw Gatewood come in. I think he completely kind of killed the momentum for Mikey at that point. There was a play earlier in the game where I don't think they were sure who was supposed to be in or out. I think we'd burned a timeout because we couldn't get the right quarterback on the field. We need to be a little bit better prepared for how we're going to do this switch if we're going to make it work.
Yeah, it looked great when he ran in for the touchdown. He spun out of 2 tackles, and everybody thought it was a great idea. But I just didn't like him coming in on the game-winning drive while we're moving that ball downfield. I think that was bad timing.
Especially to throw a pass, which he has not done all season, right? If you want to try to get 6 yards up the middle really quickly and catch Navy off guard, sure, fine, great. But to come in to throw a pass, again, it's that same thing I said on the show. It feels like Gus is waiting for the opportunity to go, aha, I can outsmart this coach, versus just saying, this is working. Let's keep doing the same thing again.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty good observation on your part. At Lonely Bee UCF, our leader in yards per carry only had 1 carry. Should Gus be on the hot seat for not giving Obarski more touches?
I still don't know what happened on that play. Gus is just really lucky Obarski tripped his way out of bounds with 1 second left.
Did you see how he juked? He wasn't running to the sidelines. He was kind of he should have just gone right to the sideline.
It looks like the penguin dance. I don't know what I have so many questions. I need you people in the UCF media room, Trace Chalker. I'm looking at you right now. I just need you to go, coach over here, Trace Chalker over here really quick. Daniel Obarski, fake field goal, discuss, because I don't know what was happening there.
Well, I didn't make the trip to Navy. It may have come up in that conversation. Can I just say something about media too? That the availability with defensive coordinator Travis Williams is Sunday nights at 7. And it was canceled after the Louisville game, eliminated during the bye week, and canceled after the Navy game. So perhaps we only get to question the defensive coordinator after wins.
Hold on. I mean, it was the Bucks were playing the Patriots. Maybe they had a watch party, Trace. Come on.
We'll end the mailbag with this. One of the, I think it was collegefootballnews.com, I didn't mention it in the bowl projections, had UCF and Tennessee at Alex Bitter 11. Who wins that game right now? Probably Tennessee.
They have a pretty good running back. I don't know his name off the top of my head, but they have a pretty good running back. I don't think their quarterback could throw the ball from me to my wall in front of me there. They seem to be struggling there. But so here's the thing, though. For Heupel, beating UCF would just be like, I'm better than them. But there are, 50 some odd players with whom beating Heupel will be more personal for them. So perhaps they play a little harder. So I may be foolish, but give me the edge to the Knights, because I think there may be some hurt feelings and some guys that maybe want to show their old coach that they're glad he's wearing that ugly orange thing.
Yeah, I have no faith in the defense keeping the top on against the Heupel offense, but it may be one of those where Heupel puts up 30 points in the first half and then, doesn't know what to do in the second half, and we come back on him. So who knows? I wouldn't feel confident.
This would be the game. This would be the game he runs up the score, right? After all those years, we were like, come on, Josh, run up the score, put him away, and he would never do it. This would be the one he would do it in.
I couldn't remember whether I'd watched episode 3 of Our Time and then recognized it was the episode after the Louisville loss. So I scrolled ahead to the last couple of moments and rewatched that ugly series of plays. But I heard the post game from Coach Malzahn saying that this game will define us. And then I watched the next 18 minutes on Navy. Where are we at in defining the team? Because he said it would define us. What did it define?
I think, I think Nick said this a little bit on the defensive side. We haven't figured out our identity. And I think that, and it certainly doesn't help when you lose your first running back, your top receiver, your starting, Heisman candidate trophy quarterback, right? So I don't know what our identity is on defense. As Nick said, we don't have an identity. I think he called it stale was the word he used, or they were just kind of standing around waiting. what's our identity? And I think if we can figure that out, are we a running team? Are we a throwing team? Are we high tempo? Are we misdirection? Are we just nothing but end arounds and jet sweeps? What are we? And I don't know that we've established that identity through 4 games. Granted, there have been challenges, and granted, losing players doesn't help, and a unique style in Navy throws a monkey wrench. But I don't know if we have our identity, and if we don't figure that out pretty quickly, this is an off the rails type of season potentially that we're facing.
If we lose this one, guys, I mean, we're looking at a 4 or 5 game losing streak, and we have to have this one. I mean, coming off these 2 losses, Guts is running out of things to say after the games. This is a must-win at home. No more excuses.
Veteran coach, he's out of things to talk about. A lot of people want to win this weekend. I want to win just so I can hear a happy UCF Mike with his lists on the Monday show. You had episode 150. We got to move on to a happier 151.
Yeah, it wasn't the way we wanted 150 to really go down. We figured this would be a great moment. And here's the thing about the show, behind the curtain. Mike and I really don't even talk before the show starts. Maybe 2 or 3 text messages, and they're less than 7 words apiece. So I have no idea what Mike's thinking, how he's feeling. He has no idea how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling. So what you get there is literally us just turning on the phones, and it's just, here's where we are. There was no time to. Luckily, Mike took a day in between the game and the recording, or else we're looking at NC-17, friends.
Yeah, man. I'm still in a bad mood. I'm still in a bad mood on Saturday.
We noticed.
It's gotten worse as the week's gone on. The Yankees lost on my birthday. UCF's lost 2 in a row. I haven't seen us win a game in basically a month now.
Giants won.
Yeah, the Giants won. I didn't even watch the end of that game because I went roller skating with my kids. I didn't even pay attention to that game. So.
I like it. I like Robert. If we win live show celebration next week with potato salad, we will end on that happy note. We appreciate Nick Patty stopping by, Matt Semenza with the Sports Adjective podcast for giving us the insight on ECU. What's your final score prediction? We'll end with that.
Give me 41-35 UCF.
Well, I'll say 31-30.
31-30. The streak continues at 30 points and all that good stuff. 34-23. 34-23.
Good
guys.
Defense going to bow up. Defense going to bow up on this one.
I have, just before we sign off here, Trace, I don't know if we got to it, but I have 2 free tickets to this game on Saturday.
Oh, we completely forgot
about it. 2 free tickets that our friend Raphael from the UCF Alumni Association down here in Fort Lauderdale is donating them. So how do we want to do this? You want whoever can message me our 3 score predictions right now? First person to do that, you want free tickets?
Oh, goodness. This is
reward the people that listen to the whole show. People that have been watching for the whole hour.
It's a very complicated quiz here, the thing that they have to do.
I mean, they just had to be listening for the last 5 minutes. Message me on Twitter or Facebook, and the first person with the correct 3 predictions we just had, you get 2 tickets. 3 rows from the field. Section 115, row 3.
Not bad. Not bad.
Wow. What a great game. Yeah. Yes. You at UCF Mike on Twitter. If you UCF Mike 1, excuse me, on Twitter if you want to get those free tickets.
Yeah, some other guy named Mike's getting what? UCF Mike 1. 2 free tickets. Message Mike. What were our score predictions? Easy. Guys, safe travels to the bounce house on Saturday. If you get there early enough, holler at me. Would love to visit with you. And everyone else, enjoy the game. Let's get a W. I'm Trey Strelko. Go Knights!